In order to get a perspective of this piece on entrance, I have looked at the lyrics in anticipation of listening to this piece with you and coupling tune to vision. I love the storytelling here, because I thought there's a bit of an element of mystery, right? What is a life of our own about? That could speak to a number of things. Maybe a budding romance, or reminiscing of old times. Maybe something else that you could apply, in terms of your own types of probable theme constructions, right? Music has a broad applicability, and I imagine this tune might have that. It has that kind of that storytelling vibe, at least. Again, I won't spoil anything. We'll experience it together. Maybe, again, not from an admittedly fresh lens on the narrative, but certainly of the tune. But I'll let you be in suspense for what you're about to enjoy with Visions of Atlantis, which, again, we're on the 5th track thus far in our journey through Wanderers, our sophomore album of experience and introduction, and it has been such a fun ride today. As many of you know, and I've been acknowledging this in past coverage, they were a frequent name of recommendations standing in my comment section, and I take those to consideration. I keep a master list. I catalog every name to the best extent that I can, and, God willing, I get to each one eventually in their own time. It's a slow process, but I do try and provide adequate concentration on such good art in the world of such proficient delivery, and Visions of Atlantis certainly qualifies. It's right up my alley in terms of what I love in the European metal regard, symphonic power and melodic influences, the symphonic especially, dominant favorite of mine, in particular of a subset of metal. I have an Austrian bassist, my first ever group heralding from that country, and I've been all over Europe. As many of you know, I jump quite a bit everywhere in far distant lands. Just a bit of a fantasy vibe, at least in the journey that I've taken to it. Music can be that, right? It's an enamoring first love and a favorite of mine in the artistic language's environment. But I truly crave, again, good art, and music readily supplies that. And I love even more experiencing it with you, right? Having a mutual experience of sorts, or at least providing an opportunity for that, in whatever angle you approach. Whether you happen to be a long-time Visions of Atlantis fan that advances me, and I know there are a number of you, or fresh listens, right? I always say that from the perspective of the people that I know are in my circles on a day-to-day basis. There's always license to imagine that some of you happen to not be introduced formally yet. None of my friends are. Broadly speaking, none of them are to the European foray, and they are missing out. I'm not saying that to be all boastful. It is a self-venture I took, but just in what I've witnessed, I am quite fulfilled. And Visions of Atlantis perfectly qualifies. If you've never humored them before, I think you're in for a fun ride, and let this be your first entrance step, perhaps even into the world of European metal. Once you step foot, you will not want to leave. I say that readily because it's true. It's a pleasurably addicting space, but I think you're going to love the ride. I've loved it so far. We are 9 pieces in to Visions of Atlantis, and it is an honor to call myself now a fan of Visions of Atlantis and to stand perhaps in the same level of adoration as many of you. Maybe not in experience, right? You'll all for sure advance me in your time with them, and outlast, but I'm going to be a fan, I'm sure, for, years to come, or maybe for the remainder of my life. We'll see. Probably. I don't know. Many of these European groups are just so bedazzling, and Visions of Atlantis is just another addition to my library that I've quickly fallen in love with. So, let's add on more an experience with A Life of Our Own. I like that name, and again, the storytelling to this, it's a particular it's got like a wider applicability, but the story has an immediate drive to it and a particular fascination. I think you're going to really enjoy the storytelling of this piece if you haven't experienced it yet. I'm sure it'll be a fun visual experience either way. I mean, the visualizers have been, but the song will captivate our attention for sure, as it deserves to. Visions of Atlantis really is a treat to humor. I love taking the journey with you. Let's continue it on. I like seeing the dominance again of that aggressive root within the symphonic metal regard. It's cool to observe. And we're definitely dipping back in again, that seafaring Atlantis pirate voyage of what they normally evoke.
When I cannot find sleep, it's the sound of the void that can entrap us all. The beast that hides in the deep.
Shown in sentence. The tone of the song almost makes it like we're romanticizing sea monsters. I love it. Again, it fits into that story, right? But it's just curious to see how the song get involved with its presence. Beautiful delivery. Exquisite perfection. Okay, I see now. The Kraken is the agent for romance. I love it. Like, we will fall in love when a monstrous beast comes our way. It seemingly offends our lives. Oh, that's a beautiful line. Her vocals are beautiful here. Again, the higher inflection points, they're so natural. And when they interweave, man, the songs themselves, in terms of the vocal balance, emphasize that romantic feel between the two vocalists. It's just, I love that connection. Again, if you want to communicate that pathos appeal, it connects directly with the viewer. I love hearing it. It's a perfect aid. And I love how, by the way, the performance is caught in the background. I love how Napalm Records manages their videos. Like, whoever's editing these types of things, they're always fun visualizers in terms of lyric demonstrations. It's not as straightforward as one might expect. There actually is some effort put in. It's just so cool to watch.
The monsters we faced all alone. The illusion
oh, it's so beautiful. The visualizers and the color palette mix so well with the feel of the song. I love that hint of the operatic intruding again. That's great. And suddenly we're going to be cheering on the arrival of the Kraken. I love this. Yes, Krakens, we accept you with open arms, because it means a doorway to romance. Maybe for the afterlife or whatever. It's silly. Okay, silly in a good way, right? I'm not trying to poke fun at it and being like, oh, it's so cheesy. It's fun. I mean, I love this characteristic about European music that is so individual. Because I think of, past exposures that I've had to the Kraken lore, right? In particularly cinema. I mean, let's say, I'm trying to pick out maybe some notable ones that everybody would recognize, like Pirates of the Caribbean, the Kraken there, or what's the beastie thing in Clash of the Titans? Was that a Kraken? I forget. I don't think I ever watched Clash of the Titans, the remade version. I don't think I've ever seen that in full. I know I've seen that scene. I think it's a Kraken. Usually it's shown from a more foreboding and ominous sense, right? Like, we don't want to be around those types of creatures, but, hey, way to represent our, I guess, allies down below. Because apparently they can be doorways to love. It's hilarious to me. I love it, though. Such an original vision to the lyrics. See, even when I previewed it, it's funny. I think partly the tone of the song manifests that, or at least it helps. Because you read the song, I just kind of caught lines of true love will carry us home and we'll keep our calm, in the midst of a storm. Again, it's got a nice broad poetry in the way that it's written. And again, it might harken back to that central myth vision, for sure, right? But there are ways you can extract it, and you can look at maybe the Kraken as symbolic of like seasons of life, or, other types of chaotic things that we all experience, different challenges and obstructions to the lives and the dreams that we have and the passions we hold. A Kraken might be disruptive, but that disruption could be a great thing. I can think of examples in my own life where there's been challenges and different types of tumultuous seasons, at least on the surface, that have worked out for, a greater purpose. As I've said, many times in terms of the content I make, I always operate from at least a background of a Christian foundation. So that verse of, I forget, maybe a specific designation, I'll throw that in terms of post-attribution. But it's like whatever that verse is about, like whatever man intended, or might be paraphrasing this wrongly, or if it's another verse that's sort of trying to intermix itself and become a hybrid of the other one, I don't mean it to, but like all things work together for good to those who love God or according to purpose. That song, again, like I said, that's more like, as I said, of a Christian attribution, right? And a faith. This is more like a fantastical myth version, but I can't help but have that type of root, at least in a life philosophy, manifest itself in how I look at the song. And a similar parallel association that might be, more broad in application, right? Especially in how we look at life these days and just judge the world around us. We're all caught in tumultuous seasons, but maybe, we should wish for the Kraken to come. I love it. It's hilarious. In a good way. As I said, I'm not trying to in any way be, too mean or inhospitable or be condescending. I think it's great. I love this originality in European music. And I always say, in terms of the music I listen to, as I think I acknowledged here maybe in previous coverage, none of my peers, in terms of my face-to-face life, we don't have a cohesion in regards to the European metal devotion. This is specifically a self-led journey, but I'm enjoying every step of the way. There's not been one song I've heard in my life that has ever romanticized a Kraken. I think it's great. I love it. If a destination is, in fact, that we will fall in love and our lives will, work out for better, right? Whether we're passed on or still in the world. May the Kraken come. We should, that's so funny. That expression should be, made a thing. That's how we should respond. Like in times of distress, maybe even on social media. We should use that expression, shouldn't we? May the Kraken come. I might start doing that. Anyway, I love it. It's great. This song offers so many great ideas. I don't know if that was its purpose, but it's just funny. It's probably an inadvertent coincidence, but... In terms of tune construction, it's wonderful. That sentimental vibe, again, of building towards that romantic feeling, the key choice is so sufficient for that. The vocal inflection points, again, that hint of an operatic that Clementine does so well. It's beautifully natural, well ingratiated to the song. I loved hearing it in appearance. It is subtle, but it's appreciated. And the blending between her and Michel, appreciated greatly. Again, there's a natural harmony that just sweeps in with their works. The pacing is even. Again, that symphonic drive is central to the song. I love the vision of it. With that power metal intrusion, I love its placement. Again, I love that isolation and the separation. It's so natural, again, to the construction of the works, but it seems like a fitting attribution. It's not too disruptive or anything, and it creates such a cohesive, fun entertainment ride. In just enjoying good art, that song delivers in particularly unique ways. I don't know. I can't get over the Kraken presence. That's hilarious. I love it. I love originality in music, even if not necessarily intended for it to be the directions that I extract things. But music is a subjective experience. We all approach it differently. Maybe this piece will in fact be the trigger that will mandate "May the Kraken come" as an expression. That is so freaking funny. I am really going to start using that. I'm totally serious. What are your guys' thoughts with A Life of Our Own? I love it. The titling is so apt to the nature of the song. Feel free to disclose your feelings down below, as well as your point of approach if you wish to disclose that, of course. Longtime fan, fresh listen. What a great entrance to their work. Beautifully faithful, again, to the reach of this band and their capabilities. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down below. It's a wonderful piece, especially as we're surveying our way through, going together, right, on this seafaring voyage of sorts of Visions of Atlantis, right? It's a great ride. This is definitely one of those pieces that has such a fresh energy, though, for sure. I can't get over how funny that statement is and how great it is to life. It's perfect. Wonderful adage. Next will be Wander, and that's going to wrap up our journey thus far with this album, with more to come. And then we'll get into the present day of Vision of Atlantis. I can't wait. I've loved the journey today. I've spent a lot of hours thus far with now Visions of Atlantis, and I've appreciated every step of the way, as I'm sure a number of you will have as well. It's a great ride. Can't wait to hear more. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.